So I'm wanting to talk about a philosophy that I find heavy class called Taoism, also known as Daoism, which originated in China over 2500 years ago by a guy named Lao Tzu. Now supposedly Lao Tzu was responsible for coming up with the philosophy in the first place and writing the Tao Te Ching, but according to scholars there's no actual evidence of this guy ever existing. The Tao Te Ching roughly translates to the way of integrity, and it's one of the most revered sources of spiritual wisdom. This is a philosophy that I try and live my life by, especially a lot more these days, so I thought I'd make a wee video about it because I feel it's more relevant today than ever before. So I'll be talking about the philosophical Taoism and not the religious version. So Taoism gets its name for the Tao, which means the way or the path, which is the infinitely grown, energetic, vibrational flow of the natural universe that's existing in us all the time, free of space, free of time, free of life, free of death and measurement, that we are all ultimately a part of. It isn't something that can be held down and explained properly, the same way as a meditative state can remain when the human mind comes into it saying, that's me in a meditative state right now, because ultimately you're back in the mind, which is a completely separate thing. You're trying to explain the no thought state using thought. There's one of the most famous quotes in Taoism, which is in the Tao Te Ching, which basically says the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal name. See, even me trying to explain this here, it's almost paradoxical, because I can only explain using words that come from the thinking mind to yourself, and hopefully something in you clicks, because it isn't something that can be explained by the observational mind. It's something that, it's one of the ones that has to be experienced. It's like trying to explain to somebody that's born blind what colours are. It's mental. See, the Tao exists in everything, whether that be in life forms to near life forms. It exists everywhere and everything exists through it. There's a Carl Sagan quote that says, we are all reflections of the universe, so you can look at it as being we're all reflections of the Tao, we're all reflections of nature. Because beyond our thinking, illusional, egotistical minds, we're all one, but at the same time uniquely different. And we should basically live a life understanding this and try and live in harmony with this, instead of trying to look at everything as being separate for yourself. For example, me saying right now, I'm separate for that bookshelf over there, or I'm separate for the trees outside or the sky. See, I'm deep down the whole room, not me as in my personality, Scott, but the ultimate I that goes and shines beyond personality. I'm just creating a separation that I am me and the room is the room, because I'm identifying with the thinking mind, like majority of people, especially in the West. It's like, look at it as being a ripple in the ocean, looking about and looking at other ripples, looking at bigger ones, smaller ones that are moving differently, and thinking that it's a separate ripple compared to the one beside it, when ultimately the ripples are all connected to the overall ocean. They are the whole ocean, they come from the ocean, they're no separate from it. But if they want to somehow develop a thinking mind that each ripple in the ocean, then they would start thinking that that one's faster than me, that one's smaller than me, this one's bigger, and start thinking it's separate even though they all come from the same thing. It's like that kind of idea. See, most people are actually identified with the thinking mind because it's basically what you're taught from a young age in order to fit into society. But we don't have to be that way all the time. We don't always have to be stuck in our mind. Look at the unhappiness that thinking can actually cause when we do too much yet. Never knowing that we can actually take a step back and enjoy this present state of awareness. It's that whole saying that thinking too much about the future can cause anxiety, and dwelling on the past is causing you depression. Obviously plan stuff in the moment that will help you out in a future moment. For example, there's times where I'm a bit lazy and I'm just like, I can't be bothered packing my stuff for work. But then when it comes to me rushing about later on in this future moment, I'll not have any time, or else I'll get to work and then I'll realise that I've actually forgot something. So basically I'll plan for a future moment that's going to arrive at some point in the future, although the future doesn't exist, because there can never be not this moment. Everything's always in this moment. But you can plan things in this moment, so when the future moment comes, you're not going to run late, etc. See, it's weird because it's almost like living in the moment is almost a scary thing for a lot of people these days. So it's almost like you're lucky because you've got your phone to distract you, because you don't want to look daft or whatever and what people are thinking about you. But I've been trying to practice not doing that as much, but I'm never one for, when it comes to sitting in company, I'm no one for really sitting there and I'm on my phone texting people saying, alright, but you're up to that, because it's like I'm with people physically, I'm there in their company. so why not talk to them and enjoy your night with them instead of texting other people? But then it's like, it's one of the ones, what would you do? Like, alright, well, I'll put my phone away. You put your phone away and all your pals are all still sitting on their phones and looking down at the phone, you're just sitting there like, in the moment, mate. So the Tao basically teaches us that we're not separate from nature, we are nature. We come from the natural intelligence paradigm, and like anything useful in life, like any useful tools, we develop thinking, and like anything that helps us, we become addicted to the point where we don't actually realise that we can stop thinking. See, people get so caught up in the personality that they've basically thought up here themselves that they forget to actually live and enjoy this beautiful perceptual experience that's basically existing round about you all the time, but it's just overshadowed by distractions and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I still like going out and buying things and I've got an idea in my head what I want, but just I try not to become as attached to them. So Daoism believes in Wu Wei, which means non-doing, so it's the action of no action. Basically means react by not reacting. See, Taoists believe the road to happiness starts with living in the here and the now, entering into stillness and becoming that silent witness and presence instead of getting caught up in everyday drama that's surrounding you all the time. So live in the now instead of the culturally designed ego-lensed viewpoint that most of us have on society, where everything that we can look at or see loses its meaning because it's got a name. We take these things for granted. Try look at life through your awareness instead of the thinking mind, which does nothing but judge things whether you like it or not. Taoists strongly believe in the Yin Yang, which basically symbolises a belief in matched opposites like light and dark, hot and cold, that kind of thing. Because that's a natural dynamic balance of life where one couldn't possibly exist without the other. Like, for example, there wouldn't be such a thing as happiness if sadness didn't exist. You wouldn't know what happiness is in order to call it happiness, because you're comparing it to what sadness is, or what something that's warm compared to something that's cold. It would simply just be. This is healthy to live by if you're struggling in life, because if you're feeling really horrible, you know that it's going to be replaced with, let's say, ultimate happiness or something like that. It's going to come back again. It's like cyclical growth. So cyclical growth, which is like dynamic balance, where opposites balance each other out. Cyclical growth will come in cycles, where, for example, winter is followed by summer, and then summer is then followed by winter. It comes in cycles. See, this can be helpful as well if you're experiencing the grief because you've lost a family member or somebody that you love, because eventually that grief will give way to happiness. So the Yin Yang, also known as the Taijito, is basically saying that within every bit of good in life, there's a wee bit of bad. Within every bad thing in life, there's a wee bit of good. Although it can also say that good or bad are basically just illusions that come from a human's point of view on a societal level, and that summer isn't necessarily, say, better than winter. That's clearly subjective. That's your own opinion. By that being your opinion in the first place, places you back in the thinking mind, which is again separate from the Tao, or separate from the natural invisible force or law of the universe that we are connected to. Because you're trying to put a label on something that doesn't necessarily require one. Or when things go bad for you, you think to yourself, this is a bad situation, because you're comparing it to a previous good situation. That's why you can recognise what a bad one is, when in reality it's just a situation. You're basically creating two problems for yourself there, because you're problem number one, this bad situation that you're in, and number two, the bad thoughts about the situation, which the bad thoughts is usually which lead to number one, but aye. See, I read a Shakespeare quote, who I don't know anything about by the way, and it said that there is neither good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And I found that sums that up kind of well. Because the mind is always making up or judging stuff based off of that particular person's upbringing, past, or religion, or their experience with governmental laws that they've witnessed for years. None of it's particularly true or untrue. I mean, when you think about it, we're the ones that have created what's morally good or bad in life. See, Taoists don't go along with that. Obviously don't go about killing people, but try learn to live in the naturally expanding world without trying to actually change it by applying the Wu Wei, which is to say that if you have a problem in life, then try and work your way around it instead of try to fight against it, or having expectations of how a particular event's going to actually turn out, because having expectations is going to set you up for failure. Expectations can lead to unhappiness. It's like the Buddhist saying, where one of the biggest causes for suffering is wanting stuff. Just do what you do in life, and whatever happens is going to naturally happen by your action in the first place. Don't try and change it, because again, expectations can lead to unhappiness, especially if they don't go as expected. It's like when you're out with your pals, do you know that way where you've been out with your pals the week before and you have a pure belter of a night, and now you're trying to top it by comparing it and expecting it to be as good as the previous night. Most of the time it ends up bad. It was actually better last weekend because you're putting too much pressure on the expectation of it. See, there's a Bruce Lee quote that sums up this video quite nicely, Taoism in general, how to live at peace in the present moment, and that's empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. Now water can float or it can crash. Be water, my friend. So what is meant here, it's like, be like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. Just merge with which cards are dealt basically. And if no, work your way around it. And again, if you're a solid object trying to fit into another object, you can crash. For example, water doesn't try and argue against the environment, and if surfaces appear, it slips through the cracks, and it doesn't try and change the situation. So be like water, formless, don't crash under pressure. So you don't let people or situations get you down, just move around it. People are powerless without your reaction. It only upsets you because they've attacked your mind-made identity, but that isn't actually who you are. I mean, you and that person are basically the same, except they're basically just experienced maybe an unconscious moment where they're angry about something. I mean, you don't know what it is, it could be on their mind. Don't lower yourself to their level. Know that there's a particular level, but just you become the more presently aware person, because if you slipped into that angry, argumentative state as well, two of them never merge well together. You're only upsetting yourself by biting the bullet. React by no reacting. So for me, the way it is with a lot of the time being stuck in my head, I try to apply as much of this philosophy to my life as possible, whether that's meditating to connect to that allness, that unifying feeling, or just try to treat people as nice as I possibly can, because I see myself in them. See, we're all on this Tao or path together. It's just that some of us get caught up in this game called life, that they take it so seriously. They're always seeking happiness in material objects, and whenever something happens to them, like their phone or motor breaks, it destroys them because they feel that it's a part of their identity. Same thing can be said for expecting things or rushing things, like trying to get married by a particular point, try to have so many kids. All these things that they're basically created for themselves and then make themselves miserable when they don't succeed at finding it. It's like basically setting yourself to self-destruct mode. People are their own worst enemy, especially when fighting against the Tao. Well, obviously there's a time and a place for planning stuff in life, but if things don't go as planned, work away around it, learn from it and work away around it. Don't lose hundreds of time punishing yourself because of it, just get on with it. Things will happen as they happen, you don't always necessarily have a say in that. It's like, don't try and fight against the current, learn to go with the natural flow of it. Even though I'm saying all this, I'm by no means perfect myself, I'm far from it. I piss myself off at times, man. You're looking at a guy that got angry because he couldn't find his fucking work the other day. I couldn't find it, I thought somebody took it, somebody was cleaning up and they've bent it, and I got myself into a right mess about it. Thought I was going to have to eat my noodles with a teaspoon, man. So there's about 7 billion people on the planet, therefore there's 7 billion different ways of practicing the Tao, because everybody's their own person. I mean, I can't practice it the same way as you, and you can't say that your way is the right way compared to my way, because everybody's got their own way of practicing it. Again, don't go about killing people and breaking the law and stuff like that. You get the main idea of it. See, there's all different religions or philosophies or practices that help you attain that higher feeling of awareness, help you stay aligned with that awareness. We all have different ways of reaching the peak of that mountain, but the peak remains the same for everybody once it's reached, no matter what path you've took. So I know this is a bit of a brief video and just me going on about Taoism, but if you like it, feel free to share it with somebody you think it might help. Leave a comment, let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about. Subscribe if you like the idea of where this channel is going to go in the future. And whatever, thumbs up, thumbs down, I'm open to constructive criticism. And I hope it got you interested. Now you can probably go and find it and learn about it after you were experts, instead of just a mad guy on YouTube. Anyway, take care, have a good one. See you later, man.